Hey everybody. I'm just gonna test the sound here because it was working when I tested it earlier, but then Windows Update reset my sound settings and just it's a real problem. Frickin' Windows, I swear. I mean, I'm glad to have an operating system on my computer, but Windows 10, not a fan. Gotta say, just not a fan. So let me just put on the only piece of music that we use for background music right now. And yeah, it's anybody who has streamed before is probably more than familiar with what it's like to have something go wrong immediately as you hit the button. So, anyways, good afternoon, champions, and welcome to the Idle Champions weekly live stream. My name is Dylan, and I am coming to you live from the cold but sunny Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Where half our office is coughing or, you know, some kind of typhoid Mary, which is why I'm going to be alone on stream today, because I don't want to share this small enclosed space with somebody else's plague. First, I'd like to thank D&D for hosting us on their official Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. And I'd also like to give a huge thanks / shout out to the awesome folks who helped make this all happen. Clive and Erica on our end today, moderating across Twitch and Mixer. And of course, Lauren / Obo Crazy, Lauren / Obo Crazy in chat. You guys are awesome. Okay, so I am pretty much almost ready to begin. I just, yeah, this computer is updating a bunch of things, so let's just, oh my god. Bloody heck. Yeah, it's been an interesting few minutes as I've been getting this ready. Anyways, so Windows 10 does this funny thing where, I don't know if this happens to you, but it happens somewhat regularly here, where sometimes when you restart the computer or you do updates, your sound settings will change. So in this case, what happened just now, and why everybody heard me opening my Coke Zero, is because the sound icon in the bottom right corner of the screen, if you right-click on it and you go into Open Sound Settings, sometimes it will default your input device from whatever else you have to one of the webcams that I'm using, like this one. And because it did that, you heard me open a soda. Luckily, I wasn't swearing or singing to myself or doing anything like really embarrassing. So that's good, because I tend to do those things. Anyways, I'm just trying to get this adventure reset and reloading everything so I can do an idle trial. I suppose people want the stream code, so here you go. This is what I was just doing, but I am ready and able to do one of Mars's idle trials, like I mentioned last week. So chat, which one should it be? What should I do? I'll give everybody a minute to put it together. First, I see that Weirdo 254 and Dreadwolf Odyssey subbed. Awesome, thank you. And I also see a lot of familiar faces and cool people in chat here. Everybody from Giant Dwarf and Garwar, Real Sadar, whose name is in a bright green on my screen and it's hard to read. Paradox, Albzors, Mr. Punch, Eric Remy Jordan. Oh, my boss is in here. Steve Zissou. GU Comics, Colette, Backdoor Shady Dealer, Storyteller Mars. Yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome to the stream. I am going to a short list of trials on Discord. Yeah, but unfortunately, Mars, I'm not at my computer, so I'm gonna have to look at a what is it? It was like bit.ly/idle trials. Yeah, there it is. I'm just gonna pull it up. This other screen that I'm looking at. Let's see. Oh, nice work on the redesign of this, by the way, Mars. It's really come a long ways. Wow, there's so many of them. Okay. Only good aligned champions may be used. Only champions with a base health above 50 may be used. Only champions of neutral. How far can you get in an hour? Only one race or class may be used. You cannot unlock other champions. Choose carefully. So yeah, what do you guys think? No, I'm actually doing really well. The mom unit is just between the hat and the unfavorable lighting and the part where I don't wear makeup, so I don't pretty myself up. But thanks for telling me that I look off. I appreciate it. Bare Head Brigade. Which one's that? Is that the one where you don't wear helmets? Perfect balance. All champions in the formation must be within 10 levels of each other at all times, using a full formation. Okay, I'm not going to be able to manage that. I need to be able to pay attention both to this and to what's going on. There's a trial of the day. Let's see. Only champions who have no listed affiliation. Oh lord. No, it's totally fine. The mom unit. It's it's the hat. Like, but my hair is an unkempt mess, so it just kind of goes all over at the moment. So. Yeah. Okay, so I actually suggested Never Alone a while back on stream, and I probably wasn't the first one to suggest it, but I think I want to do that one, and I'm trying to think of who my who the champions I should use are. Shortlist: Babysitter, Back to Basics, Curse Words, Elderly Wisdom. Elderly Wisdom. Which one's that? Curse words 5 or fewer. Oh, I get that. Okay, cool. No voice loud. No touching. Patience. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the Never Alone and just pick 2 champions, because that literally just because I made that suggestion at one point. So I mean, Mad Wizard's the one where people move the fastest, so I guess I'll pick this. All right, so who should I make my champions? Because I'm not really keen on Deacon. Tyrell's kind of OP. You know what? I know what I'm going to do. And then... Now, obviously, it's not ideal to have Paulton and Evelyn beside each other, just like on the show. But let's see how they do. I'll give Paulton Boo. Do I want Goldfind or no? I'll just do the Magical Secret thing. Let's see how far they can get on the strength of their level alone, and I'll just let that roll. Oh, I'm already here. Cool. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. So over the last week, we've had a lot of interesting things happen, both between last week and this week. We had a statutory holiday. Statutory? That sounds wrong. A stat holiday. Statutory, God. We had a stat holiday on Monday in BC called Family Day, so we weren't here on Monday. And then last week we had snow, which is unusual for Victoria, but not for the rest of Canada, obviously. that basically devastated our ability to be physically in the office all that much, and so it's been a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to go over the community Q&A from this past week again, because we went over not as much as some of our Q&As, but we went over a lot. And I just want to be able to elaborate a little bit further on different things, and I'll take questions too, yeah. So now I'm going to start going into the questions that have been collected. So first up, what is it? Real Sidhar, nice background. Can we get it? Real Sidhar, are you referring to the tavern background? Because that was actually shared from. So the artist we have in the company who did it her name is Michelle. She's at Art of Michelle on Twitter, I believe. She tweeted out the tavern background shortly after it was made. We could do that again after the show, or if somebody else in the office can find it. But we can definitely show that again. Colette totally needs Spurt in game. It's the only way to get Perkins in game. That would be fun. Diarist, hey Dylan, how you doing? I am well, actually. I am doing much better. Seeing as though much of the office is plagued, and I am not, at least currently. I mean, I look bad, but yeah, there's quite a few sick folks. Some here, some recovering, some not currently here. I'm doing pretty well. It's been a good week. So, yeah. Let's see. Ixniz, is Archon's usurp of Hellish Rebuke still not working? Does anybody know? That's a very good question. I don't. I don't know that Hellish Rebuke is the kind of buff that he can take to usurp to use. Like, one of the things about Archon, just in general, this is a general rule with Archon, is that Archon's usurp power ability can only steal abilities that he is eligible for. So if something, buffs humans only, or or it, in any way specifies something that Archon doesn't fit the criteria of, he wouldn't be able to usurp it. Now, I don't know if that's the case with Hellish Rebuke, because I'm not sure if there's an interaction there that I'm supposed to be aware of, but I'll make a note here just to check up on it after. GU Comics, I'd pay for that stream. Do you think you could get Satine to teach you how to do a smoky eye? I'm not really sure what a smoky eye is, but I mean, if anybody who can teach me how to put makeup on my face and look good, it'd be Satine, because she's always killing it. Yeah. So Satine, if you're watching right now, if you'd like to teach me makeup on stream at some point, that would be fun. Maybe the next time you visit the office, we can do that. That'll be fun. PDX Ace, when are we getting Zuna? I can't really comment on who's coming up outside of the champions that we've already talked about. And for those who may not know who's coming up, next week, along with the first repeat of Fleet's Wake, we have the Black Viper joining the game. And we have Zorbu returning. And before anybody, I was talking to Justin about Zorbu yesterday. I'm like, are we doing something with Zorbu? And Justin's like, I'll do something for him. So it won't necessarily be Zorbu exactly as is from last year. So yeah, the Black Viper is coming next week. And then to round out our first quarter of 2019, Festival of Fools coming towards the end of March. We'll be bringing an ancient halfling matriarch, which is probably too good of a hint, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But also, we have quite a few champions announced that we're talking about coming up over the rest of this year. We have Dragonbait coming to the game as part of a difficult variant to wrap up the next tier of variants in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. We're not planning more story adventures in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. But Dragonbait, the Sorial Paladin, will be joining the game. Walnut Dawngrass and Rosie Beestinger will both be joining the game later this year. Some of you may recognize those names from such shows as Acquisitions Incorporated and Acting the C Team. So yeah, they will be joining the game. Ayla, Lucius, Nova, Killick, and Sentry from High Rollers Eros will be joining the game later this year. And we have another Evergreen coming soon. And I know that this particular Evergreen has been delayed a bit and may be delayed again. Who knows? I mean, stuff happens. But yeah, it's a Shield Dwarf Archmage from the Tomb of Annihilation. Sorry, the Waterdeep Dragon Heist TRPG book. So I think some players have already figured out who it is in the Well of Spoilers on the Discord. I don't know how many others have. But yeah, those are the clues. Those are things that are coming up. And then we have plans around some pretty big updates to the game this year. Some huge ones. One of the major ones we have coming up is a core champion balance update. I know I've mentioned it a few times, before, and we've talked about it a bit here and there. But the base 12 champions. So Brunner, Celeste, Naeli, Jarlaxle, Calliope, Ashara, Minsk, Makos, Tyrell, Jamila, and Archon. Did I get them all? I didn't miss any, did I? Anyways, so we're looking at those 12 for a TLC pass, but also, I mean, a few of them with Delana. I missed Delana. Did I miss Delana? But yes. So a few of those champions we're looking at doing more significant reworks with. That's so funny that I missed Delana because I didn't mean to, but like honestly, if anybody I'm gonna miss, if there's anybody you're gonna miss, it's the character that you may have only put in your formation once or twice in thousands of hours of play. So anyways, we're looking at all 12 of them. We did a kind of round asking for feedback from the community about that as part of a Q&A a little while back, just to see if what we were thinking is needed aligned with what the community was thinking about those characters. And we got a lot of feedback about it on Reddit, and we got a lot of feedback on the Steam forums, and even some people messaging us on the Discord. And it looks like we're pretty much on the same page in terms of what we think needs to happen. So we're looking at doing full reworks of Delana and Jarlaxle, and we're looking closely at the other 12. When we have more information about that to share, we will. But yeah, we're hoping to have that ready for the end of Q1. Obviously, next month being March, we're getting there quickly. It may get pushed back a bit, but yeah, it's something we're very much focused on. But also focused on for Q1 are quality of life updates. We have a pretty sizable list of stuff that we would like to add to the game over its lifetime. And some of those things are higher priorities than others, and some of them are things that the community have requested more than others. So I don't have a list to share yet with what we're going to be bringing with our quality of life, our major quality of life updates, except to say that we have much more recently reached a point where integrating quality of life updates into our development schedule is something that's easier for us to do, because it used to be very difficult just to find the time. I mean, we talk a lot about being a small indie company and how we have to balance our resources. And I know that it sounds like it's an excuse, and I know that it sounds like something that we say a lot. We use it as a reason to not do things, but it's more that it very much... it's true, I guess. Like, we had a pretty significant issue between our OS 12 and Unity that basically took up all the dev time last week when we were able to be in the office. Like a huge amount of it, and like that stuff that shifts things around. And so, like, assuming that everything's going to go great all the time, we can probably get more things done more quickly, sure, but things come up, and we gotta move our resources around as best we can. So, yeah. But all that said, among the quality of life updates that we're hoping to get done, not necessarily for the immediate future, but like stuff that we're looking at, improving chest opening and purchasing. So when you go to purchase gold chests or silver chests with gems, being able to grab more of them at a time, instead of just one at a time with the gold chests, but also being able to open more at a time. That's something that's important to us. Improving blacksmith contract usage, because right now you have to go through a decent process per contract in order to use them, and we'd like to make that whole process better to use. Work around improving formation saves and familiar features, because it would be easy to add additional formation save slots, relatively easy, but we'd like to improve the overall system all at once. Dialogue speed options, especially on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions of the game, just because sometimes it goes too slow. It impacts people's ability to go through free plays, and some players want to be able to read the chat more easily, the dialogue. So dialogue options, and just like lots more stuff. I mean, we have no shortage of suggestions for quality of life changes. So we have a long list, and we'll see what we're able to get through. Let's see, going back to questions. Ibzors, this game is 100% the most fun and rewarding idle game I've ever played. Heart. Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot to us. We put a lot into it. I mean, it's a huge, it's a lot of Codename Entertainment. A lot of ourselves are a part of this game. So that means a lot to hear stuff like that. Sauron Satan. Hey Dylan, how's it going? Are you one of the game designers? Thanks for the Steam code, man. I am not one of the game designers, although I have helped a tiny bit with Champion design. I am the guy who streams and does all the newsletters and vlogs, and develops marketing stuff with Clive, and helps out with community stuff with Erica, and I have a kind of sort of a jack of all trades style role at Codename. Yeah. It's that's me. I do all those things. So I think my title is technically creative marketing specialist, but yeah, not one of the designers. Certainly that would go to somebody who actually has who can actually program. That's not me. Ted Faster. Justin talked about making a list of things that might help Codename Entertainment narrow down bugs like crashes. Could you remind him to do that? I can. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where we get a lot of tickets that could have more helpful information for us. Like if we're trying to isolate a bug, I mean, one of the most important parts of that is being able to reproduce it, and so every bit of information is an important part of that. What formation you're using, what adventure you're on, are you like what are you doing on your computer at the time? Are there other processes running? Like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll make a nudge, a note for Justin to come up with a more finalized list for that, I guess, because it's definitely something that might help better direct some of the support tickets we get. Dovalan, wait, how do I get the UI? So this is the gamepad UI for Idle Champions. It is available for Steam players and also for our Xbox One and PlayStation 4 players. And so in order to access this interface, what you do is you go into your settings and you toggle display in gamepad UI mode. And note, you do have to have a gamepad plugged in order for it to work. And what it'll do is when you toggle it, it will shut down the game, and the next time you load it, it will be with the other interface. Yeah. The functionality of the two different interfaces is a little different. When I say we, I mean Peter, Adam, and Jacob spent months overhauling the Idle Champions interface to make something that made more sense for gamepads. We knew we wanted to have a gamepad UI mode on Steam, and then we were planning to release the game on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So, that meant, because these portraits that you see in the gamepad UI at the bottom, I don't know if my overlay covers it too much. It kind of, it covers it a bit too much, but I'll go to game only. But like these portraits you see at the bottom, we didn't start making these with the launch of the game. We started making them when we knew that we were going to want to incorporate it into the gamepad UI, which meant that at the time there was like almost 30 champions that needed to be drawn from scratch. So Adam and Alexis spent a lot of time drawing these all the characters for the game, and we love these pictures. They're awesome, and we would like to bring this as well, to head off some of the questions of the past. We would definitely like to bring these to the regular mouse and keyboard interface or tablet interface in the future, and we're hoping to be able to do a pretty significant UI overhaul for the tablet and mouse and keyboard interface. But it's a resource intensive, time consuming thing to do. So we it may be a bit, but it's something that we would very much like to address. Elemental Nimbus, Mighty 9, please. We're huge fans of Critical Role. If we had given the opportunity, we would love nothing more. Kind of have to leave it at that, though. Hardware Hall question: do you know roughly what the difficult of the unlock for Dragon Bait will be versus that of the variants we have now? So I don't, but I can tell you that the idea behind how we're going to approach it is that we look at what the challenge was like to unlock Azaka for the first few months that she was available, and we're looking at something more like that, where it will be a serious challenge to do. The tanking and healing update and the subsequent level cap increase and the added blessings have allowed players to progress much further, and at the same time, I don't want to say trivialized completing Azaka's Procession Part 2, but unlocking Dritz was quite difficult immediately following his launch, just like unlocking Azaka was quite difficult immediately following her launch. Expect Dragon Bait's launch as an evergreen to be similar that way. Mars speed pots. It is slow, isn't it? So I probably will put on speed pots after the stream is over, Mars, but what I find while streaming is that it's very distracting when the game is moving at more than double speed in the background. I personally find it distracting trying to stream to you, and some people who are watching the stream have found it distracting in the past. So that's the only reason why I don't use those during streaming. Hellastream. As the lawful evil advocate for the Discord, I am contractually required to ask about any more hints for the upcoming lawful evil assassin. Well, I mean, that's already a pretty big hint. I don't have anything to add other than to say that lawful evil plus assassin. I mean, how many of them are there in the pantheon of iconic Dungeons and Dragons characters? All right, Bicey555. What is the best way to spend gems as a noob? Silver or gold chests? Gold chests. I'm sure, because it takes me a little bit longer to get to these questions than the chat, which is much more active. And so Garwar or somebody may have already answered this, but just in case they haven't, gold chests first with gems. If you are somebody who would derive benefit from having a familiar, getting the 1,000 gem familiar is, I personally think is a really good investment. But gold gems first. Once you have all rare equipment at least on your champions, then you can start thinking about spending gems on other things. But you will see the most bang for your buck, the most increase to your character, your roster, your ability to make progress by by purchasing gold chests. So load them up. And once you have all epic equipment across all of the 12 core champions plus Hitch, so 13, and other the other evergreen unlocks, Dritz and Asaka, at that point, you know, once they're all epicked out, it may be more beneficial for you to be spending your gems on silver chests, just because of how many item levels and your possible chances at getting Chinese kind of are impacted. But yeah, Garwar is saying that I'm making him cry. Yeah. About which part? Which part, Garwar? Come on. Let's see. I say that because I didn't have to work for my silver chests. I don't think silver chests are worthwhile for your gems to start, because getting guaranteed rares and the possibility of epics is more valuable for progression to start than getting everybody decked out in commons. Like, I'm sure you're worried about, like, if you're talking about collections. I don't agree, Garwar. Anyways, let's see, maximum rank. Is there a way to link the mobile app progress to Steam? There isn't. All the different platforms, yeah, we can't link our platforms. Fiery Crystal. How many champions would need a rework of sorts? It depends. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying it, but you guys can argue about it all stream if you want. How many champions would require a rework? I mean, we're pretty set on reworking Delana and Jarlaxle with the champion balance update, but whether or not there's more, maybe. I mean, it's one of those things where we tend to look at, like, did the design work for the character? How do they perform in formations? It's yeah, it's its own thing. Like, you kind of have to, like, look at all the criteria each time. So, Steve Zissou. What about mid-fight formation swapping and supported swapping mechanics? Tag team based on affinities. I don't know. No, so we're like, our stance on bench stacking and bench champions kind of hasn't changed a lot. But to sum it up simply, we aren't the hugest fans. The bench stacking that you were able to do with Barrowan before, whether it was at her release when you could stack her hammers indefinitely, or after when you could stack them up to forge on a champion and then just bring them in to blow up a bunch of enemies or whatever. We're not fans of that playstyle, you know, and we limited that, and like we're considering more adjustments to it, because like right now you can do things like you can have Gromma and Warden in the formation to stack up their debuffs on enemies, and then you can swap them out to get the other formation abilities and then have those other stacked abilities on top of it. And that's just, yeah, we're not really fans of it. So, you know, I'm not sure if we've come to a decision on exactly how we want to address that kind of thing, but it's something that we're looking at. Ainthra, would you consider making it possible to get bundles of event champion specific silver chests, either for event tokens or for gems? That's kind of an ongoing discussion. Like, Chris kind of took that onto his plate at some point for the like future design, about addressing ways to get you know, more ways to gear event champions outside events, but also, like, you know, ways to earn you know, silver event chests and stuff, just because, I mean, it can be really difficult to fill out all those slots, especially if you want to collect everything. So yeah, it's I don't have an answer for you in terms of, like, we've made a decision on how to do it, but it's something that we're always kind of we're always looking at. Like it's an ongoing thing. Yeah. Mr. Punch, are there any new familiars coming? There will be, yes. Light Bodhi. I was watching a YouTube video about the origins of the D&D animated series. In it, there was a reference to a crossover comic between those characters and Elminster called The Grand Tour. Is this the same Grand Tour that is happening in Idle Champions? And if so, will we get the variant with the champions of Eric, Hank, Sheila, Presto, Diana, and Bobby? Let's just say that, like, it is possible that we could add the characters from the Dungeons and Dragons 80s cartoon to the game. I don't know if it's something that we're planning on doing, but it's something that we could do, yes. As for the Grand Tour, that's a great question. So I don't know if that's why we named it Grand Tour of the Sword Coast, but it's very possible. I mean, either Eric or Justin might have an answer for that. Yeah, I'll make a note. Let's see. Giant Dwarf. Technically, wouldn't most assassins worth hiring be lawful evil anyways? That is correct. More or less. I mean, they have to follow some kind of code. So, otherwise they're just otherwise you're just hiring a mercenary or something, right? So. Calvin Norton. I've seen the word evergreen a lot. What does that mean? Well, so it gets used in a couple different contexts, and what we mean by it is we consider an evergreen champion to be like a champion that's outside of an event in the game. So, and this is terminology that got extra confusing because Chris used it in a slightly different way to start. And while we have adopted it since he joined Codename, its usage is still kind of hasn't been as defined as we'd like. When we refer to evergreen champions, we tend to be referring to champions that have equipment that shows up in gold chests, characters that you unlock. But we also sometimes refer to the initial 12 champions that you start the game with before you've even unlocked Hitch as either the base champions or the core champions. So apologies if that terminology gets confusing. I sometimes get confused by it because we are not, all of us, the entire community, always 100% on the same page with its usage. So Diarist. Are there more friendly kobolds besides Deacon and Ishi? I'm guessing Spurt. I'm clueless about D&D lore. I want more kobold friends. I mean, we already have 2 kobolds in the game, so I don't know that we're in a rush to add more of them. There are a lot of characters that people really want. Some of them are lawful evil assassins. Some of them are extremely powerful wizards. Some of them are characters from different shows. So we have a lot kind of incoming. Yeah. So, prioritizing more kobolds. I mean, there are tons of races we haven't even addressed yet. I would love nothing more than to have all of the races that are in Volo's Guide to Monsters, including the monstrous races. I would like to have them represented in the game with characters. So we'll see. Silent protagonist. The game crashes upon launch. Okay, I can't help you with that, but I mean, you can email us with your with information about your computer and about your account information. So yeah, because I've never heard of the game just locking up an entire computer as soon as you start it before. That's what else is happening. So yeah, I mean, we need more information than it just crashes, because that doesn't help us diagnose the problem. So you can email us at idlechampions@codenameentertainment.com. Codename Entertainment being all one word. Yeah, describe your computer and what's going on your computer and etc. Because yeah, that's a bad problem that we would like to help you fix, but yeah, we definitely need a lot more information. Nightmare, what's the next to add after the Acquisitions Incorporated C team? So we kind of I mean, we don't release the characters in blocks, so it's not going to be like 4 events in a row releasing characters from a specific show or book or what have you. So we kind of mix it up. I can confirm that the rest of the scene team is coming, and I can confirm that the High Rollers Aerois characters are coming to the game. But in terms of when or how they're coming and what order, I mean, to be frank, the order tends to be not very fixed until sometimes relatively close to an event launch. I mean, we need 3 weeks ish to develop animate, draw, build, all the different pieces of a champion. And we're always working on more than one at a time because we have lots of stuff coming up. But like the Black Viper wasn't finalized absolutely coming as part of Fleet's Wake until just a couple of weeks ago. So I mean, while I know who the Black Viper, like I know the Black Viper is coming with Fleet's Wake, and we're certain on who is coming with Festival of Fools. Events past that, like the running, the Great Modron March 2, etc. We don't have those necessarily finalized yet. Evil Emperor Zong. Dylan, just want to say thanks for doing these streams. They're informative, and relaxing. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We like to know that doing this is worthwhile, and also like this is one of the best opportunities we have to talk with people who play our game. So, like we can't always be in the Discord or even have that window open when we are, because we have a fair amount to do, and we do our best to stay on top of things on like Steam forums and Reddit and stuff. But it's not always easy. So, we're glad to be able to facilitate some kind of two-way dialogue. Q&A with streams. So thank you for watching. The new question: if you added more races, would you make Ashara less of a racist? She already doesn't buff a few champions. I don't know. It's fair to call her a racist. It's more like she bonds specifically with the races that she's with. Saying that she doesn't bond with other ones. Anyways. Ashara may be looked at. It's a different thing. Calling her, really, like, come on. Loose Changer Pat. When will we get another event like High Rollers? I don't have an ETA on that for you, but I can say that we do have another pretty major planned ongoing event coming to the game this year. And that's probably all I can say on it, because as I understand it, it is still very much being developed, but yes. Pedro Asani, what favor do you think is needed for the next expansion? Do you mean for like the next permanent campaign added to the game? That's a really good question. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, we tend to like to make the favor relevant in some way to what's going on in the adventure. So we're gonna have to wait and see what whatever the next book ends up being before we can pick. Vaniel X, are you ever going to make a ranger or druid that has an animal companion on the screen at all times and is part of their main attack? That's a great question that I don't... it's funny because we already have the most famous ranger slash fighter in the Forgotten Realms in the game, and and Dritz has Guinevere as part of his ultimate ability, not just like hanging out with them in the formation. Yeah, that's a good thing to note to Chris. I don't know that we have anything planned for that, but that isn't to say that we're not going to do it. Wolfred, anyone experiencing pink pixelations on the iPad? Oh God. So, first I hope that you're updated to the latest version of the game, and that perhaps that'll help. But that's an issue that has been plaguing Justin and Peter and Dave and probably Mark too, like all last week and into this week. Changes to the way that Apple's iOS 12 interacts with Unity have created some interesting issues with very specifically the iPad version of the game. You know, one of the so we've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes to try and address this, including changing the way that images are compressed, which is why a lot of players had to re-download all the images for the game. I can't remember if that was last week or earlier this week. It all kind of blurs together. So, you know, all I could say, Wilfred, is that we're on it, and we hope to get it addressed, because it's a huge pain, and it's also a very interesting thing to kind of note. Somebody working in tech or on games, is that like not all the bugs that come up are bugs that we cause. I mean, there wasn't a change in our game that suddenly made it start doing this. It was a change in the operating system. So, you know, so we're working to fix it. I'm just gonna take a drink before reading the next question. LMC DOS. What is the time gates? So time gates are there are two kinds. There are like naturally occurring time gates that happen on non-event weeks, which means that there'll be one opening tomorrow, I think. And then you can also open them yourselves. Like you can force open a time gate, as long as it won't overlap with another one or with, you know, some other thing in the game. Basically, time gates are like portals into past events, where you can earn a unique favor for time gates, and you know, you get a chance to unlock and earn a couple of gold chests for a specific champion. So yeah, it's you know, you kind of earn time gate pieces at a steady rate as you play. So excuse me, every, I want to say, is it 6 days or 4 days, or every week at least, you should be earning a time gate piece as part of your play. And then if you don't open a time gate when you have the opportunity, or you close one early, you can get pieces refunded. But as long as you have at least 6, you can also open one. And yeah, it's just a way to unlock champions you may have missed and get some gold chests. Diarist, any chance for Large Luigi to be a character or even a shop NPC? Large Luigi. I was browsing the wiki the other day and I was rolling laughing that he was a thing. I'll buy a $60 bundle on the spot if he's added as a champion. Who the heck is Large Luigi? Yeah, I don't know who that is. I can confirm that there's no Large Luigi in our plans. Is this some meme I missed? Who the heck is Large Luigi? Oh, he's a beholder. Huh. A bartender who pranks his guests. Detect lie instead of death ray. What is this? What is he from? Maelstrom's Eye? What the heck is Mael? Oh, it's one of the... Oh, jeez. Wow. Yeah, yeah, I never heard of Large Luigi until now. Full disclosure, I was a Dragonlance nerd, not a Forgotten Realms nerd growing up, so I've read way too many, or maybe not enough, depending on who you ask. Way too many Dragonlance books, but not a lot of Forgotten Realms, so... Huh. Large Luigi. You know, it's funny, that brings back the question, because we used to get asked all the time about if we were going to include Iris as a playable character. And, like, we have since added Iris as a familiar, and I'm gonna... This is my cue to add Iris to the battlefield. Boom, there's Iris. And I'm gonna put the Mimic there just for good measure, because I like it. So, there, we got a nice hovering Iris. So... We were being asked about the possibility of like either a beholder or Iris or just monstrous champions, and talking about the idea like maybe they take up more than one slot, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was an interesting concept, but I don't know if we have plans to do anything like that. Though even just hypothetically thinking about it, like what would be the best way to include size large champions? Like, you know, like say we did add one. Do we take up 3 formation slots in a triangle that have to be, you know, that have to be touching in order for you to place them? Like, is that how the only way they can go in which case, how do you balance around that? Because that's a pretty egregiously powerful character if they take up 3 slots. You know, then the Never Alone could be 2 large champions taking up 6 slots and like potentially being as powerful as 6 champions. So I don't know. Lots to consider. Sir Monstein, any word about Heroes of the Veil characters? TJ Storm's characters could be fun while having him change based on the seasons of the maps. You know, I don't know that we've looked into Heroes of the Veil. I don't know a lot about it. I know that Lauren plays in it, which is cool, and I know that Todd Kenrick is now the DM. I thought he was playing a warlock on it, but I guess Mike Merles had to take a step back from DMing that show. I know very little about it. I'm not gonna lie, because they're probably like what 6 episodes in. Lauren, can you fill us in on Heroes of the Veil? Or you know, even just link to the part of D&D Beyond that features it, because I know there's a lot of stuff. Episode 7 aired yesterday. Okay, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I don't know Heroes of the Veil. So maybe. Oh, one of our raffles is starting. People are typing supply chest in chat. So, okay. Well, I'll let that go, and I'll just go through one of these questions. Nightmare. Is there an idea to implement a mission system to send unused champions on for some buffs or rewards? So I don't have a new answer that I can give anybody, but for anybody who's wondering, we do have plans to include a way of using benched champions. So champions that are not in your formation, a way to use them. But that's all I can say about that right now. We've never had an Ilmater favor event, so that seems like a very logical choice for blessings in a new campaign in the future. Maybe. It really depends on what the new campaign is. Like, you know, like I don't know what D&D is planning to do next with their adventure books, or like, I mean, they've been releasing a new major adventure every announcing it in the summer and releasing it in like end of summer, early autumn every year, and like maybe they'll follow that trend this year. But I mean, they also they released far more books last year than they had in previous years for 5e, and like maybe that schedule is going to change. They like to change things up, so we'll have to wait and see. And then, you know, if it ends up being another adventure, like another campaign, we would probably add it to the game, and then we'll look at that adventure and decide upon an appropriate divine favor for it. Because yeah, it could change. It's got to be something relevant to that content. So yeah. Hellistream, with a Dritz rework on the way, would you consider giving him Gwen access at all times and then giving him a different ult? I mean, all things are on the table with a full rework of a champion, and like we fully are willing to own up to the fact that Dritz has not been Dritz in Idle Champions. I mean, there's an idea of who Dritz is based on his many novel appearances, and we haven't lived up to that. And part of that was us being afraid of making characters that were mandatory, by making, you know, the individual companions of the hall too strong, and then also stronger as a group, because it would be just devastatingly powerful. And so because of that, we held back on basically all of them, and like none of them have hit the mark in quite the way that we want. And so like we're looking at all of them as part of the year 1 champion balance update, which will come after the core champion balance update. And Dritz, we're looking at a full rework, because yeah, Dritz has to be Dritz. It's really that simple. JomaFat8, my iPad mini generation 2 crashes a lot. Is that just because it's old? I mean, maybe. Older iPads don't have as much RAM for the iOS and the game, and like it is a RAM hungry game, where I mean we're doing what we can to minimize it, but we use a lot of memory, so it's very possible that it's because an older iPad. Diarist, How do you guys come up with your adventure variants and decide what will be the most interesting modifiers for that adventure? I imagine it's a really in-depth process and involves a lot of idea bouncing. Um, Honestly, Justin and Chris just pull them out of their brains. Like, I mean, that's Chris's whole job as the live services manager is to like come up with the new adventures and stuff, and right. And we get Scott Fitzgerald Gray to help us with writing, but yeah, they just pull it out of their brains as they're doing it, and like they're always. I assume they're bouncing ideas off themselves. Sorry, off themselves, off each other, Justin, Chris, but yeah, out of their brains. That's like that's the most insight I can give you on that one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Why Vernie win? Thanks for reminding me of a question, Obo. Dylan, regarding the Tomb of Annihilation campaign, since it's located in Chult, is there any chance to get Snout of Ormgar area quests from the Turtle package in Idle Champions? Hey, that's a good question. You know, and there's something... So that's a great idea. I don't know if it's something we've considered. I've never heard it discussed, so maybe it's something we haven't. But like to build on that idea even further, I mean, in order for an adventure to come to a close, like you don't just go there and complete the adventure. Like, and I don't want to spoil the Tomb of Annihilation book for anybody who may not have played it. So I'll just kind of like loosely go over it. But like, you get the quest to you know head to Chult and deal with the death curse, and you start from wherever your DM has you. You probably arrive in Port Nyanzaru, whether it's by boat or by portal or whatever, and then you do your adventures on Chult in whatever random order or weird way you decide to do it as a group. Eventually, you do the tomb and you end the curse, and you're done. And the next part of that adventure, like unless you are retiring your characters, you go home. You got to make the journey out, and like. Who says that the way into a place is the same as the way out? And so, like, you know, on that note, like, while we have completed the story of the Tomb of Annihilation, and we've even had a sort of almost epilogue chapter that we wrapped up our major story with, it's not hard to justify the idea that, like, how do the champions get home, and do they visit other parts? Like, you know, maybe there's something to be said about adding a series of adventures that are the journey back to wherever, the journey out of Chult. So that's always a possibility. I don't know if it's something that Chris or Justin have on their minds right now, but yeah, certainly it's a very good point, and thanks for mentioning it, Wyverny Win, because yeah, I totally forgot all about the Turtle package stuff. And it's a cool package. I like turtles. They're fun. I've been itching to play one ever since I saw Max Dunbar's Inktober villain image, where he had like this evil turtle, either barbarian or fighter, and he's got like the giant axe, and he's got skulls hanging off him, and he's just like, he looks like a giant mad snapping turtle, and I'm like, I could play that character. That'd be fun. So, anyways, Chris. Oh. Make a note for them. Number one, Pistolier. Is it possible to find out who is in time gates before the open? It's not. It's actually who is in your time gate is determined by it's random, and it's based on to a degree it is affected by which champions you've unlocked already. It's designed to. I don't know if it's like 100% guaranteed, but it's designed at the very least to try and make sure that there's always at least one champion you've never unlocked in there, if there are any that you haven't unlocked. So people are, but it's randomly determined when you open the time gate. So you have to roll the dice. James Sec, any chance of the Mimic Familiar coming to the store? No. The Mimic Familiar, the one that you can currently see on my screen, clicking futilely away at gargoyles. It was a part of our anniversary celebrations in September, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the game coming into early access on Steam. And so players who logged in at least 4 days out of the 7-day celebration were able to just get the Mimic Familiar. Now, I'm not saying that the familiar won't return, because we might bring it back, but we're not planning on putting that familiar in the store. No. Um, Cian Emmerich. There's been a lot of nods towards Spelljammer lately. Hypothetically, what would a campaign like that look like? Well, I mean, the likelihood of us having a Spelljammer campaign in Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is extremely small. It's not really a Forgotten Realms campaign. That being said, master storytellers like Chris Perkins will weave their vast knowledge of the Forgotten Realms and the D&D multiverse into their storytelling. And there's been, there've been a number of mentions of Spelljammers on Dice Camera Action, whether it's the ship that Commodore Warrington Munt crashed in, he crashed a Spelljammer off the coast of Waterdeep, or other mentions of it. Like it's a part of it, but like we're very much focused on 5th edition D&D, like published 5e, at least with the game and with our focus with all of our stuff that we're developing. So I sincerely doubt that we would have a campaign on it. But basically, like if you're trying to picture like swords and sorcery and space travel, that's kind of like what Spelljammer is. What do you mean, Rip Warrington? I'm not up to date on DCA. What happened? You know what? Don't spoil it for me. I'll catch up. You chatters. Ethan, is R.A. Salvatore at all involved with or consulted on Idle Champions? He is not. No. Yeah, and maybe we need to with Dritz. Maybe that's what we're missing. But no, R.A. Salvatore is not currently in any way involved or consulted with regards to Idle Champions. Roacher 27. I apologize if I missed this, but is there any possibility in the future that the other characters from the Siege of Neverwinter will be included alongside Celeste and Makos? There's always a possibility. That's about all I can say. You guys are trying to spoil Dice Camera Action for me, aren't you? I'm gonna have to stop reading chat. Dovalan, is upgrading click damage worth the gold? I only have one familiar. So it really depends. The only times... So I play more Idle than a lot of players, at least a lot of players that discuss it on the Discord. I only level click damage for familiars when I am doing events for the first time. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's past your spoiler window, Garwar, but like I said, I'm not caught up, so thanks. Yeah, so I only upgrade click damage for the first one or two times that I'm running like an adventure, because those first times, like you feel weak, right? I would put the one familiar on the field and like level up click damage just so that those earlier areas are a little bit easier, because buying champions past your first champion the first time you start a run is difficult. Like when you don't have divine favor bonuses to increase the amount of gold you're getting, that's crazy. GU Comics, I keep trying to get my D&D group to make 4 turtles who like pizza. Oh yeah? And do they happen to be, under the age of 20 and skilled in some kind of martial arts? Umfleet. Who was the artist for the Turtle Barbarian art? I missed it. Oh, sorry, that was Max Dunbar, as part of... he did this, like, villain thing for Inktober, so... So that's twitter.com/max_Dunbar. And I'm going to post that in chat, and then people will wonder why for about 6 or 7 seconds usually, because sometimes there's a huge delay with Twitch. I don't know how bad it is today, but sometimes it's really long. Number 1, Pistolier. Awesome, thank you for the info about time gates. Second question, which somebody else might be able to answer, is the Curse of Strahd story stuff in the game? There is some Curse of Strahd stuff in the game, which is to say that as part of the Grand Tour of the Sword Coast, there is a side mission. I don't know. No, not a side mission, but like you can end up in Barovia. So, well, not can, you will if you're playing through it. So, yeah. Adolescent corrupted monk turtles. Yeah, that's a good one. Do you think the idea of a tiefling bard using his tail to play his fiddle is a cool idea? I do. I like it. I worry about adding more, any more bards to the game, though. We have 5, and like, I mean, if any party can be a full party of one class, it's a bard party. But yeah, I like the idea. Raccoonius. Will the codes you put on the stream be available on mobile game as well in the future? And is the UI on the mobile game going to get better? It's hard to read from time to time. So, to be clear, we don't actually have a mobile version of the game. We have a tablet version of the game. Not saying that players can't access them with different mobile devices, but like, the mouse and keyboard interface is like not designed to be smaller than a tablet screen. So if you're using it on a screen smaller than that, like it'll get really challenging for you. We're not planning on doing a UI specifically for mobile screens, the smaller screens. But we are planning on updating the mouse and keyboard and tablet interface in the future. Yeah. Now, in regards to codes, the license agreement with Apple and Google and Sony and PlayStation prevents us from putting DLC or unlock codes into the game, like any way of doing that, because it violates the terms of service for us being on those platforms. So we're just straight up not allowed to do it. Now that being said, we have since developed another system for the game that will allow players to, earn some chests, but it's a different thing altogether. And it's like, so the proposal we put in for it has been approved by all the parties involved, and so it's something that's actively being developed for the game. And I don't have an ETA on it, but the codes from the streams over the last year and a bit will not be compatible with it. It's yeah, it'll be something else. Izan, would you consider to add some sort of tracker/counter of the chest that has been opened for a specific champion to help us decide whether we want to push or invest more into certain champions for equipment? I'm not sure I'm 100% clear on what you mean by that question. Yeah. Like, especially when it comes to, like gold chests, which, right now you can earn equipment, you can open equipment for 15 champions with. So like, would it just say 15 chests for all? I don't know. Anyways, I don't know that that's something that we'll consider. I mean, I can make a note about like following up, but I'm not sure I am understanding exactly, Izan, exactly what it is that you want out of that. So. Yeah. It's funny because yeah, and getting distracted by some other side thing. Let's have a look at this formation and see how they're doing. It's so weird not putting a full formation of characters in here. Wow. Way to go, Evelyn. You took them all out. Oh, Izan. Okay, so you're referring to the bad luck protection that guarantees an epic equipment card within 10 chests of a specific type. Fair enough. Yeah, that's it's an interesting bit of feedback. It's something that we've had players bring to our attention. A couple times now, and it's like it's not something that it's not something that I personally was aware of until I saw it in a couple other games that do include it, and so we may do something like that. But yeah, like I'll just make a note for Justin, since I think that he'll be putting together whatever, like the quality of life change around like chest opening and stuff like that. So maybe it'll be something that he can do. Cobra King of Urt. Bean having internet problems. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. Did I miss anything important? That really depends. I mean, I don't know if I've given you guys all new information yet, guys and gals. Certainly players who are tuned into our Discord and like do the Reddit Q&As and stuff, like I probably haven't given you any new information today, but if you don't tune into those things, yeah, I might have. So do you guys play any other games around the office, like Magic the Gathering or X-Wing? We have a number of people in the office who really like playing Smash Brothers, the new Super Smash together. And you know, we have some people who like playing Overwatch, some people who like playing Fortnite. I myself would prefer to play Apex Legends over Fortnite. But for a lot of our lunches, we tend to play D&D. Yeah, I mean, we were playing our Curse of Strahd campaign today. Just encountered a horse with flaming feet and a fiery mane, so that should be interesting for our next session tomorrow. Yeah. Alrighty, Fleets. Is there any plans on making potions swapping or trading possible? Like, I have a ton of heroism potions that I would trade for others. Yeah, Dovalin, it's a nightmare. I was just like, our characters don't know what a nightmare is, so like they think that it's an evil-looking horse that's kind of on fire. But yeah, it's a nightmare. And I'm pretty sure it's Strahd's horse. I don't know. Strahd's a dick, so I don't mind killing or stealing his horse if it's possible. Fleet. So, are there any plans of making potion swapping and trading possible? I have a ton of them. So, we don't have plans for that right now. It's not to say that we never will, but like that kind of economy change for the game would be a significant change. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll do that. And Eli Darkheart, I agree. I think that Apex Legends is better than Fortnite. And I also very much prefer Apex Legends to, like, I played Call of Duty Blackout, did not like it. Played Fortnite a little bit, didn't grab me, didn't like it. Never played PUBG, but boy did I love Titanfall 2 and the original Modern Warfare, and Respawn Entertainment knows shooters. So if you like FPS games and you're thinking about trying a Battle Royale game, Apex Legends is awesome. And it has by far some of the smartest squad-based communications and tools built into the game that I've ever seen in any game. It's absolutely amazing. So that game is earning a lot of, I imagine it's earning EA a ton of money. But no, it's getting a lot of accolades, very deservingly so, because it's, yeah, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best Battle Royale game to come out. Alrighty, follow up. If or when you have all champions unlocked, can time gates skew to help to get those pity epics? That's a very good question, Giant Dwarf. I'll make a note on that for Chris and Justin. Not to deflect it, but like, I don't know if they're planning, because you know, a lot of the far off plans are things that like they haven't even started talking to the rest of us in the company yet, because they're still their ideas. And like, I don't know if that's something that's already being considered, but I will certainly pass that along. Hellastream. You mentioned liking my idea of an Air Ganassi arcane archer. I got bored and made the character. I ended up taking a few levels in Rogue and going Scout. The character ended up as this weird Ranger hybrid. Scouts are so mobile. Crazy mobile. And I mean, and your archer, so you have an archer that is hilariously slippery and can get sneak attacks. I mean, I know it's a Ranger hybrid, but like, it's probably way better than a Ranger. Like, let's be honest, Hellastream, that's probably better than Rangers are. But yeah, that's super good. To deal with the horse, does anybody in the party know how to speak with animals? Yes, we do have people who know how to speak with animals. But we also have a murdery Shadar-kai elf and an even more murdery bard that loves fire. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Will wisdom prevail? Maybe. Zugzi, concerning Azaka's adept traveler, where is the exterior location? That's a good point. So we don't post like we don't have a way of notifying people that they're indoors or outdoors in the game. So I'm just gonna make another note for Chris and Justin on that, because that would be a positive quality of life thing, I think. Wisdom's everybody's dub stat. Well, no. We have a monk and a shadow monk and I forget what kind of druid our gnome is, but we have a couple characters that should have lots of wisdom, but our gnome rolled a really poor character, and our monk, probably knowing Cat, I mean, all our characters seem to have 18 in stats, so I'm sure her monk is super wise. So I guess we'll see. Yeah. Let's see how this trial is going. Area 72, huh? I mean, I can use potions, right? Like, I could give my... I mean, that'd be so unfair to give them... Yeah, I'm not going to do that. In retrospect, I don't think Paulton would have been the best choice necessarily. Like, he's got a sweet buff, but he's right beside Evelyn right now. So I guess I can move him back. And, but like, he needs more champions adjacent to him in order to fully maximize it. Like, I bet if I had Kathris at the very back, buffing Evelyn, or really anywhere buffing Evelyn, like, she might just be better, or I don't know. Or even like Evelyn and Strix, or Paulton and Strix, or I don't know, something. I feel like for Never Alone, you kind of almost need to have a tank champion in order to do it, because if you don't, like, it's really easy to get other characters overwhelmed if their attack timer's not fast enough. You know, I mean, I wonder if, like, Birdsong Grama might have been a better choice. In fact, I bet it would have been. But, oh well, I'm sticking with this one. I'm not going to cheat, so I'll let it keep going. Oh, Mr. Salty, that's, yeah, Garwar's already answered it, but that's scientific notation. So it's counting zeros. The numbers get real big. I highly recommend that you use it, because the regular notation kind of it kind of gets hard to read at times at a glance. Whereas with scientific notation, like, because it, you know, because of the way that it counts the numbers up, you can always tell if you've made an improvement immediately. Let's see. Mage Pie. Would you ever consider having a system of combining lower rarity potions and turning them into a higher, more potent version? I mean, it's possible. You know, again, like, any changes to the economy of the game, like, are things that get taken really seriously. I know we've considered this before, but yeah, it's I don't know if it's something that we would ever do. Part of it being, you know, generating gems is something that can be exploited. And some players really have, whether they're using scripts or they're finding ways to speed up the game to, I mean, you know, using scripts to be efficient is one thing, but like a lot of players take it a step further. And so, you know, they can amass a crazy number of gems easily, which allows them to get a crazy number of chests easily and a crazy number of potions and other stuff. And like, so like more changes to like just the economic aspects of the game and how those systems work, would be something that we take very, very seriously. HDevil912. Any tips for a new player? Well, depending on who you ask, you're either spending your gems on silver chests or gold chests. Now, I personally preferred gold chests because I like getting guaranteed rares and possibly getting epics. But Garwar brought up a really, really great and important, quite frankly, point that getting any equipment into slots on your characters as quickly as possible is also really important. So, even if you're just filling them all up with silver chest equipment, like just getting them those items helps a lot from the start. That being said, like, the mentality behind it for me is that you don't make it as far in early runs when you start playing the game. Like, you're not unlocking very many champions, so you're keeping your loot pool limited to the characters that you're able to unlock, which isn't that many. And so getting them geared up with decent gear is easier, because it's probably going to be a while before the first time that you unlock Archon and put him in a formation. So, either way is good. But honestly, HDevil912. The biggest tip I can give a new player would be to check out the Idle Champions subreddit, reddit.com/r/idlechampions, or join us on the Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions. There are so many dedicated players, passionate players, people who really know what they're talking about, posting content all the time, looking at those things, able to field questions at like any time of day. I fully admit that I am not the best player who plays this game. There are a number of players who create content either for those channels or who are regularly active in them, who do more with less than I do. Who some of whom like Mars is a free-to-play player. He's completed pretty much all the content in the game, I think, and there are other dedicated free-to-play players as well, and so that'd probably be more helpful. But just familiarizing yourself with the incremental gains of playing up to your wall, resetting, playing up to your wall again, resetting, and unlocking things at a pace. Like, don't feel like you need to get everything unlocked right away. Don't feel like all the content you'll never be able to catch up, because every run you do makes your characters more powerful, increases your favor, allowing you to buy more item levels, etc. As you beat bosses, you get more and more gems, you can buy more chests, etc. Like, it's just be ready to put in the time. That's really it. Legendary Dragon 75. I find the new players a pain to find. That's fair feedback. Admittedly, like, unless you're familiar with idle games and our previous title, swapping between characters might not be something that you find intuitive. So there may be something that we can do better to better feature that, or to better make it obvious that you can swap characters and find where to find different characters. So I'll just I'll take that feedback to the devs for when they're looking at the mouse and keyboard interface overhaul. Let's see. Giant Dwarf. To go with Azaka's Adept Traveler flag, can we get a similar flag for the Helm's Open Lord Decree? Also, none of the Helm's blessings seem to show in buffs. That's something that we were actually talking about during our morning meeting today. And basically, not all blessings show up. And what we should probably do is streamline the entire system so that everything shows up in different ways, so that you can pull up a character and know where each buff is coming from, whether it's a blessing or a different formation ability or whatever, because we aren't consistent with that. So I don't have an ETA for when that'll get done, but it is definitely on our minds, because you're right, it's not always obvious, and there's a chance that some of them, because it's not obvious and not easy to see where all buffs are coming from at all times, like, heck, I mean, we make mistakes. It could be that something is multiplicative instead of additive, or vice versa, in the wrong spot, and we're not seeing it because it's not visible, or rather, it's not easily visible. So, yes, Giant Dwarf, absolutely, that is valuable feedback that we will take to heart. Yeah. Just trying to read chat and make sure that I have everything. Let's see. The mouse and keyboard overhaul scares me. Please, no card covering. So, when I say mouse and keyboard UI overhaul, what I mean by that is like, so looking at this version of the game, and I will remove me again. So looking at this version of the game, we learned a lot about our UI. And, you know, just over the course of doing this, like, this took months to do. And, like, when you think about it taking multiple people that much time to put together, like, you're talking about a pretty sizable investment for an aesthetic change to the game, right? You know, never mind creating the new art. We came up with different ways of visualizing some of the aspects of the game. Like, you know, you look at the top left corner of the screen with the way that the gold, like, we have our gold and we have our gold find on there, and we have our favor and our, you know, like, we have a bunch of information visible in ways that it's different than in the gamepad UI. This like left trigger thing that tells you how much your party DPS is doing, and like gives you this quick info basically. It's something that doesn't even exist in the mouse and keyboard UI, right? Like, so what we're talking about when we say that we want to do an overhaul to the mouse and keyboard interface is what we want to do is take the lessons that we learned from this and this amazing like character portrait art and, you know, some of the other graphical elements that we've created, and use that to inform a design update for the mouse and keyboard / tablet interface of the game. You know, we approached the initial interface for the game with a different mentality than we approached this. We learned a lot. We want to take those lessons back and improve the experience here as well. Yeah, that's really it. Like, so we want them both to be better for what they're doing, right? Like this is better for using a gamepad on, but what we want also is a better mouse and keyboard interface for players and for, you know, and for tablet users as well. So that's kind of how we're looking at that. Black Bolts. Can we get a potion vendor who sells potions for gems, please? Probably not. For all the reasons that I was discussing about gem exploitation and that stuff, like the economy of the game, like, yeah, it's extremely unlikely, at least with the way things are set up right now. Will mouse hold to rapid upgrade be part of the overhaul? Yes, and that's actually a quality of life change that David wants to bring in sooner rather than later, because being able to click and hold down the mouse on a character to buy all the levels is awesome. So, is she gonna go up? Oh. Anyways, yeah, that's something we very much want to include. Krennic, showing DPS percentages is probably less valuable than showing tank health. That actually affects decisions occasionally. That's true, and like one of the things about tank. So, I mean, you'll notice in this interface that we don't have the same thing as the mouse and keyboard UI, where we have the health and stuff underneath their character, and like that's not something that we have a perfect solution for yet. But what was the word I was going to say? Because there was a direction I was going with this. And I'm like hitting the like afternoon lull in my brain where I would normally like brew some tea. You're absolutely right that being able to see tank health impacts decisions, and you're totally right, because you know most players will be saving a Celeste ult for when they want to full heal their party, and knowing when your tank is getting close to dying is pretty helpful for that. Or even if you're just on an adventure and you're trying to you know, it's relevant information for a bunch of different situations. So that's totally true. The reason this shows the percentage of DPS is like it's so you can, you know, look at your party and be like, oh, okay, you know, Paulton is doing 99% of the party damage. I mean, it's probably 99.9999%, but you can see how hard he's hitting and whether, you know, it just allows you to judge information, right? Like, it's challenging when you have a game with as much information as this one has to make all of the relevant information easily accessible at any given time. And there are areas where we can improve, and certainly tank health and like, you know, players often request like your gold find per hour kind of thing, so that, you know, they want to be able to maximize their gold find formation, which fair enough. So you know, when you have suggestions, feel free to send them our way. The gamepad UI also needs the journal to read dialogue, look over loot drops, and look over your collections. Yeah, I don't know if I fully agree about the collection screen, but the journal and the dialogue, like, we've been talking about overhauling our journal for a while. Not just so that you can more easily go back through the dialogue of an adventure, but so you can read other adventures that you've completed as well, so that it's just easier for you to access it. And I don't know if that's something that we'll get to, or if we'll make that system redundant or whatever. But yeah. Oh, I'm not in the game. That's why I can't play it. I'm not in this window. I was like trying to get familiars. Anyways. Let's see. Mystic Dreamer 76. I'm sorry. I'm new. Sorry if this has been answered. Your UI on the bottom of the screen looks a lot different than mine. Is this a special game mode or something else? This is the gamepad UI. Yeah. If you play on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, or you're using the Steam version of the game, you can access this interface through settings down here. Display in gamepad UI mode. The menus look a tiny bit different than the mouse and keyboard UI, but it's the settings menu. It'll restart your game, and it'll be using the other interface, and you just need to make sure you have a gamepad of some kind plugged in. I'm using an Xbox One controller right now. Yeah. Will there be a way to show the tanking threshold for tanks? Yes, that's something else that we need to include. Because, like, right now all we get is we have an overwhelmed debuff that shows up when the tank has too many enemies stacked on top of them. But what we could also use is a way to see whether or not a character is, like, what their tanking threshold is on the character screens, because right now the only way to tell which characters are tanking, which ones aren't, is how much health they have. Like, do they have you know, a pretty reasonable, you know, up to 3, maybe 4-digit number, or do they have an extremely high number? Because it varies wildly. So yeah, that's something that we can include. And shout outs to Jaddy Lady and Shodan111 for subbing. Awesome. I am happy to have been here while you subbed, even if it's not necessarily for me. And I think a couple other people did. Croco Battalion? That's a cool name. I like it. I mean, I stumbled over it brutally, but I like it. So what else should we talk about? Mirks, the gamepad UI is only usable with a controller attached. So like, the mouse can do a couple things. Like, I can pick up coins, but I can move characters around the formation. But there's a bunch of things you can't click on or do. Like, I'm clicking on Thunderwave right now, and it doesn't do anything. So, yeah, it's, you know, if you switch to this interface, you are committing to using this interface. So, Kenku character when? Oh, God, I would love to add one. I mean, my dream would be to have Kiri, but I don't think it'll ever happen. We might be able to include one at some point, you know. Certainly there's a possibility that we could work with a show that has a good Kenku character that we could include, but yeah, Suggestion: the overwhelm resistance / threshold could be called resolve. I like that suggestion, Giant Dwarf. That's a good idea. Suggestion: as at least a band-aid fix, you could add a small health bar onto the damage percentage showing labels. Oh, so like if I hold down the left trigger, it would say it would have their total health. I mean, that's an idea. Usually, we kind of look at a lot of these things as like measure twice, cut once kind of thing. I don't know if people are familiar with that idea. Like, if we're going to change something, we want to be able to put a permanent change in rather than a temporary change in most cases. And like sometimes band-aid fixes are unavoidable, but yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of Akiri fans. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, Critical Role's awesome. What can I say? What else do we have coming? I should probably talk about the fact that, like, while we didn't have a guest this week, and we didn't have one last week, we do have one next week, and we actually have a whole bunch of them planned for March already. So, coming next week, our guest will be none other than Vivid Vivka, who plays Ghost on Sirens of the Realms, and who did the official cosplay of the Black Viper for the Stream of Many Eyes. So, yeah, it's one of those things. You know, we're looking forward to talking with Vivka because that'll be a lot of fun. We took inspiration from Vivka's cosplay of the Black Viper for the design of ours in the game. So anybody who has looked at the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book, if you flip to page 196, you'll have the Black Viper with the key art for the Black Viper, the backstory for the Black Viper, and the character sheet. So Vivid Vivka played the Black Viper on Dice Camera Action, both on stream and at TwitchCon. But before that, she created and did the Black Viper for the Stream of Many Eyes last June, which is where the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book was announced. So her costume is awesome. That cosplay is absolutely killer. It's got a ton of detail that isn't in the, like, she you know, expanded upon ideas that were in the costume, and she has these like crisp push daggers, you know, like the kinds with like the curved blade coming from between her knuckles for it, that are totally rad. And so we took our inspiration for the design of the Black Viper champion from Vivka's portrayal. So we have Vivka on next week, and not coincidentally, we will also have the Black Viper available in game by then. So yeah, she's coming up as our guest next week, and then we yeah, in March it looks like we're gonna have some really cool guests. I don't want to spoil it yet; it's too early. But yeah, Vivka next week, and in March more cool guests. So we're pretty excited about all of that. Will this be a not safe for work stream? No, I mean, no more than it already is. I mean, this is already an 18+ channel, right? Like, you have to consent to profanity and stuff to be on this channel. But yeah, if you're referring to whether or not we are going to be showing some of the other content that Vivka produces through either her Instagram or her Patreon or anything like that, we're not. No, we're focused on the Black Viper. I mean, Vivka plays D&D both as a guest star on streams, but also on Sirens of the Realms, is a huge part of. I was just wondering why Dylan is Great is suddenly popping up in chat, and I realized that Erica made that the giveaway thing. That weirded me out for a second there. I was like, what the F? Yeah, Vivka is deep into the D&D community. She's a gamer. She's like, we have a lot of D&D related stuff we're gonna go over, so we're pretty excited about that. It's gonna be fun. Dave Modi, with the larger UI elements in gamepad mode, does that mean we might see phone-compatible mobile versions instead of just tablets? No, it doesn't. We don't have any plans to do a phone mobile-specific version of the game. Like, while you are able to access the game on some mobile devices, it's not designed with that in mind. We're going to be focusing on the tablet interface. Vaniel X, who is in this week's weekend buff? That's a great question. I'll pull that up. And I will know it in a moment. Let's see. What's the date today? It's the 21st? So February 22nd to 25th.
Under Distress Weekend. Oh, that's a terrible pun, Chris. But it's yeah, Barrowin Under, the champion Barrowin Under. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Barrowin these days, but yeah, it's Under Distress Weekend with buffs to Gromma, Ashara, Delana, Birdsong, and Barrowin. And it looks like, yeah, we'll wait and see what the Golden Epic sweetener slash, purchase thing is for it. Will we ever get crafting or any other way to get gear for event champions? It's a little premature to answer that question, just because I don't want to spoil anything related to systems we might be developing. And the only thing I can really say to that, Raffin Man, is we do plan to further expand upon the ways that event champions are able to be geared outside of events, because time gates are not meeting our expectations necessarily. But what that looks like, what we include, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's TBD. Who would you rather see in the game first, Omen Drawn or Jim Dark Magic? Omen Drawn, personally. Yeah, Omen Drawn is a good character. Plus, I mean, you need more a competition with Paulton for Evelyn's affection, right? So yeah, Omen Drawn would be the one I would pick first. Okay, yeah, it's still weirding me out that the entry thing for this is Dylan is great. I get it, but it's weirding me out. Yeah, weird me out. Any plans to work with the Drunks and Dragons podcast crew? So that's not Dungeon Drunks. You're thinking of Drunks and Dragons? I don't know Drunks and Dragons. I only know Dungeon Drunks. There are a fair number of podcasts, and also a fair number of shows. So it's like we can't work with everyone. Not to say that we don't love everyone, because we do. So many people create good stuff, but holy crap, yeah. Just be happy you're great. Thanks. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Drunks and Dragons is a separate show from Dungeon Drunks. They've been on for quite a long time. Oh, good to know. Yeah, I am far less familiar with the podcast world, which is to say that I don't really listen to podcasts. Although I do sometimes listen to Dice Camera Action and Critical Role. And apparently I need to catch up on a DCA, because they murdered one of my favorite characters ever. So I guess we'll see. Wow, it's 2:45. Holy crap. All right, we're almost at the end. Yeah, so let's see. Vivka next week as a guest. Some other things are tied into future announcements, so I can't spoil those guests yet. Was there anything else in the community Q&A that I wanted to go back over again? Let me double check. Oh yeah, we were asking people for feedback around Paulton, and like it seems like some players think that Paulton is maybe OP, and I think that like it depends on what kind of formations you tend to use and where, but like, certainly we've received a lot of feedback about Paulton, and like there may be some tweaks related to it. I don't think it's a problem that he buffs or even that he's a strong buffer. It's very formation dependent in order to best capitalize on it, and it very much leans towards either Birdsong or Strix formations. That being said, his gold find is real good, and there isn't really competition in slot 4 for him right now. Ishi will get tweaks when we get to her. Jarlaxle's getting a rework, and I don't know if they'll go with the ideas that I threw forward for Jarlaxle, but I threw some pretty I threw together a pretty aggressive rework of Jarlaxle at Chris, and so we'll see if that's something that they might want to take some ideas from or not. But yeah, we'll see. But certainly, we're gonna pay close attention to it, because if it turns out that you know, an adjustment needs to be made, we will. But we'd rather bring more people up to that level. And also, Paulton is the only like global DPS buffing support that's in slot 4, but we also really wanted people to have players to have more variety in the formations they could put together, because like suddenly, depending on who your primary DPS is for your formation, you had more competition in buffing slots, which meant that you could vary up your formations a little bit more. You know, Paulton excels in formations with Strix, and is a great buffer to include with Birdsong, especially if you're doing a Bard formation, that kind of stuff. So like, we're happy that he's created more options. So we will see. I've certainly been able to put together a few Archon formations that take advantage of both Makos and Paulton for usurp power, among other things, and it's like it's noticeable. So we shall see. Yeah. What else from the Q&A? Let's see. Don't want to spoil. Who got that? Fucked? Wow. That was... It'd be easy to mispronounce that and get myself in trouble. Anyways, congratulations on winning a bunch of chests. Anyways, yes, like Paulton is certainly really viable in some contexts, much more than others, but I don't feel like he is an essential piece of every single formation the way that Celeste, Calliope, Tyrell, and like, you know, Naeli and Evelyn are at this time, right? Like, so we'll see. Yeah, but I don't know, like I especially feel like in terms of design, like he's a strong character, like. So we shall see. Dylan, is Eros within the Forgotten Realms? If not, does that mean the barrier has been weakened? Eros is not in the Forgotten Realms, which has meant that some of the High Rollers Eros champions will be interpretations. Fresh Idle Champions interpretations. Forgotten Realms versions, if you will, of those characters. Now, some of them will require very little change in order to be like to remove to get away from like, I guess because Eros is a Mark Holmes homebrew campaign world. So in order to kind of make it more 5e appropriate, sorry, not 5e appropriate, but more appropriate to a Forgotten Realms themed 5e game. There will be some minor adjustments to some characters and probably some bigger ones to others. You know, off the top of my head, just thinking about them, like we have, I had a link to it actually. I was just going to pull up their thing and look at it. Let's see, what do we have for characters? Lucius is a high elf sorcerer. I mean, there are, you know, that's pretty easy. That's pretty straightforward. Ayla is a wild elf barbarian. That's pretty straightforward. Eric Ganassi Warlock, Aarakocra Bard, and then Guardian Paladin. And like, Guardians are a homebrew race, and they're like kind of construct like. So in order to do Sentry in the game, there will probably have to be some adjustments. Not to the aesthetic, to the look of Sentry per se, but like there will probably have to be some adjustments to the character in order to adapt Sentry for the game. So we'll see. I mean, it's a case-by-case basis, but like some of them are going to be easier than others to kind of bring over. So, yeah. Boom. Sunsword. Ooh, Evelyn got hit hard there. Yeah, I guess because my gold find doesn't really go up as fast as everything else, so. Anyways. Yeah, there'll be adjustments. Warforged seems like an obvious solution to that Hellstream because Sentry is a construct of a sorts. But but yeah, there'll have to be some minor adjustments. And then like in the Eros world, like there are firearm like weapons, among other things. So like, you know, stuff like that will have to get adjusted. And like, yes, there are firearm like weapons in Forgotten Realms as well. I mean, all of Jarlaxle's drow in Bragan Darth or Darth or however you pronounce it, they have smoke powder weapons. You know, Warrington Munt had smoke powder weapons. So like, you know, firearm like things are something that exists. But yeah, it's yeah, we're excited for it. It's going to be a unique challenge, and like adaptation is always fun. And like these characters also, like they have a lot of like really beautiful, colorful design that I think will be fun to bring to the game. I'm looking forward to it. Personally, I am especially excited for Nova because I love Warlocks, but it's also an air genasi, and the design is so cool. Oh man, yeah, very cool design. So excited for it. Bragan Darth, cool. Thanks, Hellstream. Yeah, I haven't read the pronunciation for them that's in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book, because I know they put a page in there, so I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I would love to see Raistlin. Yeah, Raistlin Majir is what a character. You know, that has the full you know, hero to villain to redeemed hero to etc. kind of arc as part of his story. Raistlin is a good character. I think that would be super cool, but Raistlin's from Kryn. Kryn is not part of the Forgotten Realms, so the chances are kind of slim that will ever happen. So yeah, that would be cool. So I'm gonna do kind of a long, slow outro today, and answer the last few questions, and then just kind of, you know, do the thanks and stuff on the way out. Let's see. Giant Dwarf. Asara needs more bonds, more buffs to her bonds when getting a weekend buff. We agree, and like Ashara will be tuned as part of the core champion update. We don't feel like she needs a full rework, but we're taking a hard look at her. Falcon Grey. Is Imoen from Baldur's Gate 2 ever going to be added? The only response I can give to that, Falcon Grey, is that we do have access to those characters. That's about all I can say. The Darzan, is Wolfgar coming? I am new, so I don't know if he was ever available. Wolfgar arrived August or September of last year as part of Bright Swords, the 17th event in our yearly cycle of events. We were mostly happy with him. Certainly the art and design of him and his kit that Kat did and was put together, we really like. But he was supposed to be kind of like the last piece of the Companions of the Hall that brings it all together, and it doesn't quite function on that level. So we'll be taking a look at him as part of the Year 1 Champion update later this year. Let's see. Did you guys purposely write the D&D story to be somewhat comical? At times, yeah. You know, we want it to be funny. Jarlaxle is our kind of outspoken, pain in the butt character in a lot of this stuff. But yeah, we try to be funny at times. We hope that comes off as funny at the appropriate times. So yeah. Okay, so coming towards the end. So in order to wrap up our Thursday, February 21st, 2019 show, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me, for watching, for participating in this community. You guys are cool, and it's really fun to be here. You know, huge shout outs to the people who helped make this happen. So starting with our partners at Dungeons and Dragons, Daryl, Allison, Greg, Bart, Pelham, Satine, and Lauren, Obo Crazy. Huge thanks to you. Thanks to Erica and Clive for doing the co-moderation and helping manage everything. And extra huge shout out to Erica, who is currently working from home with a sprained ankle because she got iced last week. So she hasn't been in the office. She's still kicking ass and taking names and doing her, doing the moderation stuffs from her non-walking state. So huge thanks to Erica for that. coming up next on this channel is Welch's Game Juice, I believe, unless something has changed. I closed a bunch of windows, so I just wanted to pull up the schedule to double check. I think it's still coming up next. But it's in the schedule for next either way. So that's coming up in a few minutes with host Kate Welch. And then of course, there's that tiny unknown show that is getting hosted on this channel at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, Critical Role. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me.